What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. Today, March 24th, we're going to be mock drafting for the Packers. We're going to do a 7-round full mock draft here on PFF. If you guys are new to the channel, I am primarily a fantasy football content channel, and the Packers are my team. We do a lot of Packer mock drafts. I think this is 4.0. It's March 24th, so we're about 4 weeks away from the real NFL draft. I'll probably roll out maybe 2 or 3 more of these mocks. It's just fun to do every other week or so. But we're going to get right into the draft. I think the Packers needs real quick. Obviously we could use some help at receiver. We could use some help at cornerback, at defensive line, whether it's defensive, the edge, whether it's interior defensive linemen. Those are the primary areas that I'm concerned about. We could always get more depth on the offensive line or some more depth in the middle of the field with linebacker and some safety stuff, but that's all kind of minor. Let's get right into it. Packers pick 23, 7-round mock draft. I'm not going to do any trades, but maybe once we get a little bit closer to April, I'll kind of zip around with some trades, or we can take a peek at it as we get through here. But first round, we got it on turbo here. We're going to just hit simulate and get the first round rolling. And before I start, I just want to say, I do a lot of fantasy football content. I'm primarily focusing on quarterbacks, receivers, running backs, and tight ends. Packers only need wide receivers, so I have a good, depth of knowledge on these guys. Right now, they're saying Luther Burden, Emeka Egbuka is available here, top receivers. And then, dude, it's getting kind of crazy here. Did Matthew Golden went pick 12 to the Dallas Cowboys. McMillan up here at 9. So those are the top 2 receivers in this draft. If there's any way Jahdae Barron falls, I think the Packers could trade up for him. I am interested a little bit in Shamar Stewart, the edge rusher at A&M, Mike Green, Kenneth Grant, Ezeuruike from Boston College. I don't know much about Michael Williams, but he could fit our need as well. Will Johnson, another player that could be nice for us. But as we're up on the board here, we're looking at receiver. We got James Pierce, the edge rusher, which I took James Pierce in a mock draft. I think it was 2.0. I do like James Pierce. He was considered once like a top 10 talent, but he's kind of fallen back a little bit. I am open to him here, but just to do different things. I like to keep it fresh. Walter Nolan, defensive lineman out of Mississippi, is a good option. I do like Derek Carman, and I don't think I've mocked Derek Carman here, but the Packers have really their choice at one of the top defensive linemen, whether it's interior. They have one of their top choices available at almost any time I pick 23. Walter Nolan on Ole Miss here. He's basically a 3-year player for them. Played a lot of snaps last year, 88.9 grade on PFF here, 6 sacks, 25 hurries. And I like his pass rush win rate. That's pretty elite. Run defense grade, also pretty elite. Playing in the SEC, this is really strong numbers here. He's primarily a B-gap guy, a little bit over the tackle, outside tackle stuff. So he's kind of like a stretch on the ends. He can, but 6'3", 305, looks like a versatile guy the Packers could just put on the defensive line and see where he fits in. Again, Kenny Clark not getting any younger. We lost Slayton in free agency. I like the free agent signings that we did make. We added the kind of slot hybrid corner there, and then we did get an offensive lineman. But we do need some beef. Derek Carman here, kind of a 3-year starter for Oregon. Primarily a B-gap guy, 5 sacks last year, 7 hits, 43 hurries. So his pass rush grades all look pretty phenomenal as well. So I'm going to start this draft off with a defensive lineman. And I know we're all looking at receiver there. Receivers do look pretty good here. Luther Burden, Egbuka. I'm open to these guys, but I think the issue with the receivers here is if we're not going to get McMillan, who I think profiles as like a true number 1 receiver, otherwise, we're just adding like Burden and Egbuka. These guys are good players, but I don't know if they're like stud number 1s. It's kind of just more of what we already have. I am worried though about Romeo Doubs leaving in free agency next season, so we do have to think about that. So if it's not receiver here, Burden or Egbuka, I think we're going to go with Walter Nolan or Derek Carman here. We could trade back just a few picks here. Saying Buffalo is our next pick back, so I don't want to trade back all that way here. I'm just going to take Derek Carman, who I think has been a popular pick for the Packers these last few weeks, and we'll lock in a defensive lineman here. We could always use more defensive linemen, and he's a player that I think can come in and help right away. So there you have it. Let's move into round number 2. We are up with pick 54. We just missed on a couple guys here. Maxwell Harrison. I did put the Ohio State edge rusher JT on the top of the cover for this video. We did not get him. I had been mocking him round 2. I was kind of hoping Jaden Higgins would fall to us as well. Trey Amos, Azariah Thomas. There's some really good players here in round 2 that I think could fall to us. Princely from Ole Miss. The Packers might be in position to either trade back in the first round and then trade up in the second round to really target some of these players. I think those are all really good names for us in the second round. But we're up in round 2. Let's just take a peek at what we're looking at here. Demetrius Knight, the linebacker out of South Carolina. I do think Braden Swinson's a pretty good player for us. He's kind of he started a lot last year. He's more of a rotational guy his first 2 years, but phenomenal grades here. 43 hurries, 9 sacks, 8 hits. An outside the tackle guy. I think LSU primarily runs a 4-3 defense. And his run defense grades a little bit lacking, but overall the pass rush grades look good. For a second-round pick, 6'4", 250. It says he can become a starting edge for a 3-4 player, but I think 4-3 is kind of something that he can lock in the edge for us. And I'm fine with Swinson here. A lot of good running backs available at this point of the draft. I don't know how I feel about Shamar Turner, but we already locked in our defensive lineman, so we're going to pass on him. I don't know what you guys think about Darian Porter, but his profile is extremely interesting. He was a receiver converted to corner, and he was locked down last year. You can see 5 receptions on 17 targets, only gave up 70 yards. He had 3 picks. This passer rating is super juicy. You can see his zone coverage is just through the roof here. So he's a project cornerback here, 6'4", 200. Again, wide receiver. But if he fits what the Packers are looking for, that could be one of the top cornerbacks that we're looking at. Otherwise, Jared Ivey here interests me. Just another Ole Miss quality player here. Pretty solid numbers across the board. And he's a guy that can play outside tackle. I like him. This one says he lacks the speed and lower body flexibility to be a speed threat as a 4-3 defensive end. So he's more of a 3-4 defensive front guy. But I'm just going to collect Brady Swinson here, who's one of the top players on my board. They do have Jared Ivey ranked 59th. They got Braden Swinson here at 47. So we're going to get our edge rusher here round 2. And we just kind of stocked up the cupboard on the defensive line. We got Derek Harmon in the middle, Braden Swinson helping with the pass rush. I think that's a fun way to start this draft here. We still need corner, still need receiver. We'll see round 3 if we can find a guy that fits what we're looking for. So we just missed a few guys here. Didn't really miss too much here. I love the running backs. Jordan Phillips is an interesting defensive lineman for us. But Jalen Noel is a really interesting receiver out of Iowa State. They had 2 really good ones last year. Noel is 5'11", 210. It says he's a compact and powerful slot receiver who wins with a first good step and can succeed in an NFL offense where the quarterback holds the ball a little bit longer in the pocket. That could be Jordan Love. His stats, slot snaps, 339 last year, 133 wide. This is primarily a slot player, so he could be Jaden Reed insurance. He could also be a guy that helps us move Jaden Reed and get him in different alignments. But he had a massive year last year, 80 catches, almost 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns, solid enough grade versus man. Everything here looking pretty high. I think Noel could be a receiver that we're looking for here round 3. Otherwise, I do like Jalen Royals too. Jalen Royals is different than what Noel does, but what it says here is Royals may lack difference-making athleticism, but he's a strong possession receiver who can line up anywhere with plus after the catch ability. 6 foot 205, so that's a good size for a receiver. Nice and kind of compact. He had a huge year 2023, only played in 7 games last year, but he was having a really good year in those 7 games here. He was on pace for almost 1,600 yards. So he was playing lights out. The man coverage grade's pretty good. Yards per out runs pretty high. I think Jalen Noel, it could, look at these yards per catch too. He could be a guy that kind of fills in for Christian Watson. We don't really have that true deep threat on this team without Christian Watson. So maybe Jalen Royals kind of slides in there as a small vertical threat. So one of those 2 guys interests me. If we wanted offensive line and we can never have enough offensive line, I really like Wyatt Millam and Tate Ratledge here. Ratledge is a offensive guard here from Georgia, basically a 3-year starter for them. And he's played primarily at right guard. If we do lose Sean Ryan next year, this could be our starting right guard next year. And depending if we kick our Arizona guy, Jordan Morgan, if we kick him to left tackle, maybe next year something could happen with that. But just a solid guard option for us here. So I like those 2 linemen. Maybe Savion Williams here. He is an interesting player that can do a lot. And the Packers like to have those guys that can, do reverses and special teams work. And Savion Williams is one of those guys that just get the ball in his hands and good things happen. It says his stats won't wow evaluators, but his tape and measurables sure will. 6'5", 225. He's a guy that can line up in the backfield. He can catch, he can take runs, he can take returns. He's an interesting, just a big versatile player that could be interesting for us. But with all that being said, I'm gonna take Jaylen Nowell, just grab a receiver here. It looks like he's slipping in this mock draft a little bit, and we'll just grab another solid player that can compete for a number 4 duties right away here. And I did like the Mecole Hardman signing, by the way. I thought that's a really cheap player that can help in special teams and just be, probably number 5 receiver after we draft one, and a guy that can just make a big play every now and then. But we've been kind of ignoring the cornerback position. We have 2 dudes from Kansas here as the top available players. Coby Bryant falling a little bit here. We're looking at a 3-year starter, a guy that's primarily an outside cornerback here, and he's been just solid. And I think what the Packers are looking for, we just need solid players. If we do lose Jaire, we don't have a lot of playmakers left at cornerback here. So this is a guy that's allowed under 75 passer ratings in 3 straight years. He's given up 2 touchdowns in every year, but 4, 4, and 3 interceptions look pretty good. I'm open to this. I think this guy could be, a quality number 2, number 3 cornerback here. Let's look at his counterpart, Mello Dotson, who's also a 3-year starter here, primarily outside man. His grades are a little bit more variant. But again, he's had 2 awesome years the last couple of years here, struggled as a freshman, did give up some touchdowns last year, but these 2 guys could be of interest. I really like Noel Williams, though, out of California, and I think I've mock drafted him a couple times. I thought he had a strong RAS profile as well, primarily an outside guy. Did give up 3 touchdowns, but he got 7 interceptions last year. So he does have a career 12 interceptions. I think at this point, round 4, we're just trying to take a player that could be helpful. So any of those cornerbacks stick out to me. I do like Bashul Tutin out of Virginia Tech for running backs. Torrey Horton's a really fun vertical receiver if we want to get something like that. But I think we got to grab a cornerback here. I'm just going to grab Coby Bryant because, like I said, I already drafted Noel and a couple other ones. And I think the main point when I do these mock drafts is I'm not trying to be right every pick. I'm trying to, for me, I'm trying to just expose more names to myself is, like Coby Bryant. If the Packers take him, I'll have done some research on him. And I'm trying to just make my library of players that we could potentially pick a little bit bigger. So Coby Bryant, cornerback out of Kansas, let's sign him up. And so far, I think we've hit on we hit the 4 major needs that I thought we had. We got a defensive lineman, Braden Swinson, edge rusher at LSU, Jaylen Nowell, receiver out of Iowa State, Coby Bryant, cornerback out of Kansas. And we are back on the board here in the 5th round. And I'm looking at, we don't need safety, but Billy Bowman out of Oklahoma, he's a guy that can play slot, box, and deep. And we kind of like those hybrid type players in the cornerback spot, safety spot. He's probably a guy that the Packers have watched tape on, so keep an eye on Billy Bowman. Elijah Huzzie out of North Carolina. This is a guy that I was looking at earlier today, and I thought we might have something here. He played a lot of slot in 2023, primarily outside cornerbacks last year in his freshman year. But again, versatility is kind of a thing that we like here. Just solid grades all around. He's not an elite player by any means, but last year, pretty solid numbers. He gave up 22 catches on 47 targets, only 1 touchdown. He did have 6 interceptions his freshman year, which was interesting to see. And then 3 sophomore, 1 his junior year. Kind of a nice looking player here for a 4th round pick, 5'10", 195, a little bit smaller for a cornerback here. But if we wanted to double dip at corner, I'm not afraid of doing that. So let's get another guy here that can compete for number 2, number 3 cornerback duties, assuming Jaire's not on the team. Round number 6 here. Let's take a look here. We could get another defensive lineman, Junior Tafuna out of Utah. He had a really good year last season. Not so productive his first 2 years, but we're talking about a B-gap player here. Run defense grade, pretty strong. That's kind of his strong point of his game. Not a solid pass rush guy, but he's at least decent, above average. 6'3", 308. He's a linebacker to defensive tackle convert who brings unique quickness and first step agility to the defensive tackle position. Overall, he likely lacks the build and strength to be a full-time starter, but should hold up as a day 3 depth player. So again, just someone that we could potentially use on special teams. and a guy that could rotate in. I do like Zeke Biggers as well. He had a really good RAS profile. His numbers are not great looking here, but we're talking about a B gap player here. Looks like he can be a nose tackle, they're saying, so maybe he's not on our radar here. If I didn't take a cornerback last round, I really like this Jalen Smith out of USC. I think I took him in the mock before. Outside cornerback last year, but slot his first 2 years. Again, really strong man coverage grade here. He just has versatility that we're looking for. I'd like him deep for USC. We're picking at 198 here, so I think I'm not going to be, picky. And let's grab this defensive lineman here. Again, we're just kind of doubling down and making sure we have some beef up front on defense. And round 7 picks, we have 2 of them. Let's take a look and see if I can find some sleepers for us. There's some receivers back here. There's a couple good running backs on the board here. If we wanted to grab, a guard center or something like that, we could totally do that. I think getting a backup center makes some sense here. I don't know if Timothy McKay can play center, but he played a lot of right guard, a lot of right tackle for NC State. Joshua Gray, guard, left guard, and a left tackle out of Oregon State. That looks interesting. Really strong gap in zone grades. Not so good of the pass blocker, but we're looking at a 3-year starter here with plenty of experience. Maybe he could be just a solid depth prospect here for us. I do like Fentrell Cypress. He's the other Florida State cornerback, and I think he's probably gaining some steam in draft boards. But this is he had a good workout the other day. I saw that, but a primarily outside cornerback. I think he is 6 foot 188. He's a little undersized, but he looks like a player that could make some noise, in round 7. Otherwise, Ethan Downs, the edge rusher out of Oklahoma. I think they play a 4-3. His run stop rate, not great, but solid overall, to find this round 7. Not a guy that gets a lot of sacks, but the hurries are what I like to see here. And 6'4", 265. Maybe we just bring in an edge rusher here in round 7 and see what we can get out of them. So we'll double down on edge. We got 2 corners, 2 edges, and 2 defensive linemen. Let's see what else we got here. I could grab another safety or another cornerback here and just say, let's see what happens. I do like Johnny Walker's profile. I picked him enough in the mock drafts, though. You guys have seen that if you've watched the other ones. We got a guard here out of Montana State. Really solid numbers, but I get it. It's Montana State. He's a right guard, right tackle project. Let's look at his numbers here. 6'4", 300. Lack of arm strength and foot speed leaves him with a few options. So he could step into guard or moving further inside the center. So he's a good athlete, and we need a backup center. We could use some guard help as well. So we'll just finish off the draft with an offensive lineman here that could make the team. And there you have it, the full 7th round mock draft here. Let's see what they give us for a grade. I thought we did pretty decent. We covered all the needs. They give Derek Harmon a C. They like Braden Swinson for an A, Jalen Knoll for an A-. Kobe Bryant and Huzzy, we get A and A- for, and then some C+, B+, and C+ down here. Get a B+ grade overall. I didn't plan on double dipping at all of our needs. I guess I didn't double dip at receiver, but to get 2 defensive linemen, 2 edge rushers, and 2 cornerbacks feels pretty good to me. What do you guys think we're missing in this draft? Do we want a second receiver? I don't think we're drafting running back. I think we could always draft 2 offensive linemen as well. And then I didn't address linebacker or safety in this one. So again, just a way to throw more names out there, see what we could be potentially looking at in the upcoming draft. What do you guys think of the draft? And I don't know. Thank you guys for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Peace. Got me feeling icy.